Welcome back to Superhero Stuff You Should Know. This is the fastest Ben alive, and with me, as usual, is...
Wally East. Get it right. I'm back.
It's Wally West in this one. So, we have another Flash script on this time. For April, we're covering
another
the Flash
one.
script.
Get used to Flash until we... until that fucking movie comes out.
Yes, we've turned into a Flash podcast. But yeah, this one is the Flash script by Chris Brancato, and this will premiere before the reported release date of a new Flash trailer, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, the last time we did a Flash script, it was on the David Goyer script in 2006, and what's interesting on this one is that it takes the same ideas and does a different script with it. So let's dive in.
Okay.
It's Wally West again, as opposed to Wally East, and it's about Wally taking on the legacy of Barry Allen. But there are different villains this time.
It's a remix of the Goyer one?
Yeah, think of how Sam Hamm's Batman 2 was it also had Penguin and Catwoman. It was also set during Christmas, and it also had Batman getting framed, but it wasn't really the same story. This is kind of similar, where it's it's Wally West taking on the Flash from Barry, who dies earlier on, and he has to fight a bunch of villains. It's similar to that.
Is Weather Wizard in this?
Maybe. Maybe he is.
Maybe he
is.
We get a maybe in this.
I
was going to give it a hard pass if there wasn't Weather Wizard, but since there is Weather Wizard in it,
I'm
all ears, man.
We'll see what happens, but let's dive in. So this is not David Goyer. This is Chris Brancato. Now, Chris Brancato at the time was a TV writer. He still is mainly a TV writer. He had actually written on a completely unrelated show called Flashpoint, but not related to the Flash. He would then go on after the script to be the creator of Narcos, though, and Narcos Mexico.
Okay.
So he does.
I've never seen it, but everybody
bigger...
says it's awesome.
Same here. Everyone says it's awesome. Yeah. He also creates Narcos Mexico and The Godfather of Harlem with Forrest Whitaker. So he found his stride with these crime shows for sure. And there's definitely crime elements here too, because it is the Flash, but not nearly as it's definitely still very comic booky. It still has it's a similar feel to the Goyer one, but let's see whether or not it's better. So what we're diving into is apparently the second draft comes in around September 4th, 2007, and similar to Goyer's script, we also start with an image of a red blur speeding through the city as the titles roll. Seems to be that's how they wanted to start all these movies. No voiceover from Wally this time, and it's a little ambiguous to me whether this is meant to be a flash forward with Wally's Flash, or if it's meant to be Barry's Flash, since in the opening, like Goyer shows us, like in Goyer's, Wally West is young, and Barry Allen is the Flash. So Wally comes to Keystone City to stay with Barry and his Aunt Iris. This Wally is a little edgier than the one in the Goyer one. The one in the Goyer one, he kind of was a little bit of a mischievous kid who got in trouble by breaking a window or something. This one just flat out tries to steal a car.
He's doing heroin.
He's not doing heroin in this. There is a reference to him doing speed, but that's not in this part.
He's doing speed, of course he is. Wait, so when was this made? In the 90s? The troubled youth of the 90s.
It's 2007 is the draft, but obviously it's this part's the past, so it's probably the 90s at this point. He comes from abusive parents. Iris's brother, I guess, was abusive, and so now he's coming to stay with Barry and his Aunt Iris. And unlike the comic book version, where Wally was the Flash's biggest fan and president of the Flash's fan club, this Wally thinks the Flash is lame. Who goes out and saves people? So that's kind of his attitude in the beginning, and he gets arrested for stealing a car. And at the police station, he basically gets bailed out by his Uncle Barry, who has an 18-year-old intern named Linda Park. Now, Linda is the main love interest for Wally in the comics. She becomes his future wife. And so in this script, Linda Park is the love interest to Wally, rather than last time when it was Dr. Tina McGee. Both were characters who have been love interests in the comics, but Linda Park is kind of his main girlfriend, just like Barry Allen has Iris West, just like Superman has Lois Lane.
So we got two minorities, a ginger and a Korean American.
Yes. if they would have kept him as a ginger, though. So we'll see. There's not really much of a reference in this.
One soulless ginger and a Korean American.
Barry decides to give Wally a soul. No, he decides to pick up.
He's trying to get a soul from the fucking like the Naboo or whatever from Dr. Fate or some shit. That would be a ridiculous plotline.
Well, you have no soul. You're a goddamn ginger. No, in this one. Barry picks up on the fact that Wally has a desire for speed and tries to bond with Wally by riding dirt bikes together. This is an attempt to bond with Wally and to teach him responsibility, saying, quote, "In the end, it's not about the speed. It's about what you do with it." Obviously, that's going to be something that he carries through into adult life. Some time passes. Wally is less of a troublemaker. He bonds with Barry and kind of visits him in the lab. And at one point, he and Linda he's trying to flirt with Linda, but Linda is already crushing on an older cop, Hunter Zolomon. If we remember him, he was also in the Goyer draft. So Hunter Zolomon is in this as well. And they kind of establish sort of a love triangle where Linda and Hunter kind of have a thing going on while Wally is crushing on Linda. But a huge explosion goes off in the police station, and Barry Allen is caught in that explosion. Wally tries to get to him, but ends up getting soaked in the chemicals trying to save him. He ends up failing to save Barry, with other cops dragging him out of there, and Barry Allen dies from this bomb. Sadly. So,
he definitely does die, or we'll see him in the third act.
He is...
Actually, don't worry about it.
He is the Flash, so who knows?
Yeah.
10 years later, Wally is known as Wallace West. And
yes, Wallace Westwood.
He is a motocross racer wearing the Flash emblem on his suit. And he is a pretty bad motocross racer. Commentators say that he has so much potential, but so little achievement. He always just falls short at times. So he's also now more jaded than ever. This is not the same Wally as like the Ryan Reynolds style Wally from the Goyer script. He's less likable. He's got more of a chip on his shoulder. Again, just like the younger version. He's the edgier version of Wally West in the Brancato version. He even tells a young fan who has like bruises on his body as a result of abuse. He tells him to toughen up because that's how you solve child abuse. Yeah. So Wally's best friend. What a jerk! Yeah, I know. Wally's best friend is an original character named John Harris, who is in a wheelchair. And it seems like they wanted to kind of give some of the elements of Hunter Zolomon to a separate character on this. So I guess John Harris is his friend in the wheelchair, and helps him out. And he's in this, but again, there's some part of me who's just like, well, you didn't really have to separate John and Hunter Zolomon. It was more interesting in the Goyer draft when Hunter Zolomon was like his mentor type character, who then became Zoom. So who knows what the thinking was on that one. Right. So Barry's been dead for 10 years, but his Aunt Iris is still around and tries to visit him and talk some sense into him and what he's doing with his life, because he's just a failed motocross racer. And along the way, when they are walking together and talking, a random man bumps into Iris. And this becomes important later in terms of who that was. Iris is now a state senator who promotes sustainable energy and being green in conjunction with the governor of Kansas, named Governor Savage. So she and Governor Savage are basically very pro-environmentalist. There's an environmentalist
Vandal Savage as the governor here?
Yes, you're giving it away, but yes, it's Vandal Savage as the governor.
I mean,
he's the main villain.
Come on, man. That's his fucking name. How many guys have Savage in the name?
Well, there's Commissioner Savage in the Batman.
It sounds like a ridiculous name, dude. By the way, just real quick, my 5th grade PE teacher, I swear to you on this day, his last name was Slaughter. Coach Slaughter. And of course he was the PE teacher.
Amazing.
Yeah, so like when I hear Savage, it doesn't really, it's not a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, he tries to disguise it by being Governor Van Savage rather than Vandal Savage. That's Brancato being like, this is a deep cut here for anybody. They're not going to see this coming.
I mean, a lot of the audience, especially then, wouldn't have gotten it probably, but anybody that reads comics or has seen DC cartoons knows that name for sure.
Yeah. So Iris brings up to Governor Savage that someone seems to be stealing power from the local dam, and that certain someone seems to be traced to the governor's own company, Savage Energy. Yes, he owns a company named Savage Energy. That's not aggressive at all.
Okay.
So Governor Savage promises to take a look into it. We kind of know what that's going to lead into. Later that night, however, a lightning storm hits Iris West's house while Wally is there. They try to help each other to safety, but when their hands clasp, a lightning bolt hits Iris and passes through her into Wally. Iris is electrocuted and falls to the floor. Wally, however, remains standing, and in her dying breaths, Iris hints about a secret that she and her uncle kept from him, relating to the ring that Barry always wore. Iris then dies. So this is a big thing. And Iris passes.
What?
She dies. Iris is dead in this version of the script. I was just like, okay.
She does like nothing in this script.
Yeah, I know. She's like a nothing character in this, sadly.
She's there to die.
Yeah.
This has got that like 90s darkness vibe to it. Like,
I know.
We gotta make it edgy.
So the police arrive to investigate, which naturally reintroduces the older versions of Hunter Zolomon and Linda Park for the Keystone Police Department. Wally notices that a silver disc was left on Iris, and he wants Linda to investigate and discover, what was left on his Aunt Iris. He leaves the crime scene, and on his way out, he nearly gets hit by a bus, only to find himself randomly far away. Basically found himself to safety. It's here that he discovers his super speed. Wally and his friend John decide to look into the ring that Iris mentioned in her dying words, and when John's hands caress the surface of the ring, the Flash suit bursts out of it, hovering in the air before fluttering to the ground. And John's like, dude, your uncle was the Flash. So now he's discovered Barry's secret, posthumously. So now both Barry and Iris are dead. Wally has been given the ring, and now he's got the speed. So he and John decide to experiment. Wally runs alongside John as John drives. And then we get another gag of the Flash passing by a highway patrolman and going at 478 miles per hour, which makes the patrolman just think his radar gun is broken. And
that old thing. We used to see that shit. We'll probably see that in the Flash movie too coming up. But
yeah,
I used to see that in like every friggin' thing, right? Like especially in like the mid 2000s. It's such a trope of the time.
You got to put that in there, I guess.
Like that, the fiery logo in the third act.
Yeah. There's no fiery logo in this one, but there is the radar gun at least twice. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
They end up going to Vegas, where Wally decides to run up the side of the Wynn Hotel, just up the side of the building. But he doesn't make it to the top and ends up crashing hard to the bottom. He tries it the second time and makes it to the roof, but he gets vertigo there and takes the elevator down. So he's like gradually discovering his speed.
Yeah, that's cool.
At a Vegas nightclub, Wally also discovers that he can time travel and travels back about 15 seconds. Then they head back home, and there's another gag of a patrolman who sees the Flash go by, and this time it's at 605 miles per hour. So he's progressing, and we get two of those patrolmen with a radar gun gags in the script. So
okay.
Wally comes back home to meet with Linda, who reveals that the silver disc on his aunt was some kind of GPS locator. Wally then figures out that the random man who bumped into Iris was planting a GPS locator on her. And there's a possibility that GPS locator was meant to draw lightning. So, we then get a cool moment where Wally goes all over Keystone City searching for the man who left that disc on her and discovers that he is a man named Clive Yorkin. Yorkin recognizes him, tries to shoot Wally, but Wally dodges all the bullets. And so Yorkin takes off, stealing a Ferrari, and we get a Wally versus Ferrari chase, which is pretty cool, I think.
Okay.
We get to see him finally try to take down a criminal. But Wally sort of crashes a few times too, because he's still not used to the speed, especially when he has to chase somebody. But he ends up getting the hang of it, and eventually Yorkin crashes the car and gets knocked out. Wally, however, is caught on camera with people wondering if the Flash has returned for the first time in like 10 years. So he's about to evolve into being the Flash at this point. So things are moving along here. After the chase, Wally reports back to Linda what he's theorized about how maybe his Aunt Iris was murdered, especially since it seems like, Yorkin was hired to put this GPS locator on her so that lightning could hit her, which means that somehow she's been assassinated by a bolt of lightning, by the weather. There you go, Andrew.
I called it. Yeah. I don't know. It's just the thing is, like, Weather Wizard's one of those ones that's like, of course, goofy, but I've seen him a couple times now, and he was the first one in the Flash CW, so he's like kind of grown on me, you know. I don't know why.
I always thought it was a cool power. Like when I was looking through, I had the DC collection of the DC greatest team-up stories ever told. Growing up, and Weather Wizard was in there. I'm just like, this guy's got the coolest villain power out of everybody in this, and it always stuck with me too. There's just something about him.
Look, weather control. I mean, the first one for me was Storm, of course, in the X-Men cartoon, but I guess he's the first weather control dude I've saw in DC, maybe.
Yeah, that too. So, yes, obviously the script reveals that the man behind this is the governor himself, Governor Savage, a.k.a. Vandal Savage, the Immortal, to the surprise of nobody. Savage, of course, owns the Savage Energy Company and was behind the power drain that Iris uncovered, had her killed so she wouldn't reveal the truth. And so to do this, Clive Yorkin put the silver disc on her, and he enlisted Dr. Mark Marden, who is a.k.a. the Weather Wizard. So there we go.
This is the coolest version of Weather Wizard I've ever seen.
in the art here? Yeah, I'll have to ask Dan which version this is.
Because I've seen some goofier ones, but, which are also fine, but this is like actually somewhat cool. It's
kind of cool. He's got a kind of like a Loki / Doctor Strange kind of look in what we're looking at here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pretty cool. But yeah, they don't actually call him Weather Wizard in this. He's just Dr. Marden, who's working for Vandal Savage. I guess they're trying to make things a little realistic. But yeah, he's the one who sent the lightning bolt to kill Iris, unknowingly creating the new Flash. So this
is
Wally West
2007,
Flash.
right?
Yeah.
2007.
Flash versus Vandal Savage and the Weather Wizard is kind of what this is.
It's before Iron Man 1, right? It's before MCU, and people hadn't truly accepted really faithful comic book adaptations. So they like now they would just say, "Hey, he's Weather Wizard." Everybody's like, "Cool."
Yeah.
But back then, it's like the X-Men black suits and the 2000 movie. It's like there's just this steady progression of acceptance.
Yeah.
Especially with Marvel, like DC is like Batman, Superman, like the suits are more or less comic accurate, but Marvel took a little bit. I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, Spider-Man was accurate. And anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, Weather Wizard. Well, Weather Wizard doesn't get a suit in this one, so he is part of this, Andrew. But sadly, he's not the main guy, and he's not in the costume.
Let us know in the comments, like how does Weather Wizard even like pose a threat to? Like, I just feel like the Flash could just go so quick and just kind of push. You could push him down. I don't know. Maybe lightning is faster than him, but Weather Wizard's like reaction time would have to be. Maybe his reaction time is lightning quick. I don't know. I'd have to look that up. Let us know in the comments, please.
Right. Yeah. So, well, we won't see much of Weather Wizard here, but maybe we'll talk more about him in a future Patreon or something.
Indeed.
But
yeah.
These are not the
cool.
These are not the only Flash villains in this, Andrew.
You got to remember, dude. Like, I know you know this, Ben, but like, I feel like the Flash is like steadily creeping up his rogues gallery. Yeah. I feel like it's like steadily creeping up to like, of course not Batman or Superman levels, but like, it's kind of up there at this point. It's like people sort of are knowing more because of the CW show and everything else, especially after this movie that is going to come out. It's like his rogues gallery is pretty famous, man, at this point, I think.
It's getting there. It's getting there. I think they'd be more famous if one of them was in this movie. Instead, it's like him versus General Zod, but there's no Flash villain in this movie about the Flash.
It looks like it's a type of Reverse Flash, but then at the time of this recording, it's before the movie, we don't know. But it seems like maybe there's some Reverse Flash stuff going on in that movie.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see. But see. Yeah, Wally goes to visit Clive Yorkin in prison in Iron Heights Penitentiary. So basically, it's the Blackgate prison for Keystone City in the comics, or Central City in the comics. But it is where he passes by a bunch of the rogues that Uncle Barry locked up. So here are the other Flash villains in the script. This does have more Flash villains than the Goyer one. that may or may not be a good thing. But here we've got Roy Bigelow, a.k.a. the Rainbow Raider, who killed 6 art critics with bullets filled with paint in the script. I'm like, this ridiculous. I don't think that's how Rainbow Raider works in this, but this is their like attempt at a darker backstory for the Rainbow Raider. I'm like, I don't know about
CW as well.
All of these guys are in the CW.
Okay, yeah.
They had to do all of them. It's going to be 9 seasons total. They have to cover everybody. You have
23 fucking episodes a season, by the way. My God.
Rainbow Raider's the one responsible for like turning Barry like kind of like a jerk, and like which sets up the fight between him and Arrow in the Flash versus Arrow episode when they had that first crossover. He was pretty big for that one episode. But he's in this as well. The middle guy is Mick Rory, aka Heatwave. In this version, he was a firefighter who went crazy because he inhaled too much asbestos dust and became an arsonist.
As you do.
Yeah. He became an arsonist for hire. I'm like, I think you just made this shit up, because this sounds more ridiculous than the comics, but like done in a way that seems like, well, this is like an edgier version. I'm like, no, it seems more ridiculous. And then the last one is Hartley Rathaway, the Pied Piper, who uses sound as a weapon and uses it to control rats. Now that's faithful to the comics. Like, that's true to the Pied Piper. There's only so much you can fuck around with that too.
This is the lamest power, but his suit is the coolest.
Out of these 3, yeah.
Out of these 3, yes. 100%.
He's also
Rainbow,
a big character in the comics.
Rainbow guy, what's his name? What's Rainbow guy's name?
Rainbow Raider.
Rainbow Raider. I thought it was Rainbow Rider.
That too, based off this picture.
This character, like, it's like so lame it's cool. You know, there's really something there, I feel like. Like, the fire dude is just fire dude. I don't know. I just feel like, there's probably I don't know. Strangely enough, I feel like there's some potential there with that character. But
colors as a weapon. There's something ridiculous at it, but wonderful.
Maybe Silver Age silliness or something. Maybe there's I guess there's great runs out there with him in it. I don't know, but again, let us know in the comments. But man, I don't know. I just, you get that. Do you get that vibe with some characters sometimes? Like, you feel like there could be potential with them.
I mean, for sure. A lot of times with different villains, like this one.
Yeah.
Right, where it's just like, this could be really cool, but he's not somebody who like shows up all the time, or he's not somebody who comes to your mind first for a villain. But like when they do show up, you're just like, oh yeah, this one's underrated. Like, he's in that category, I think, for Flash villains.
That's how you make your name, right? And it's just like, as a writer, I feel like the old Alan Moore thing, where it's like, oh, character dumb as fuck. Let me just get ready and make him amazing.
Well, the attempt here was that he killed 6 art critics with bullets filled with paint, which I'm like, I don't know.
Maybe we change that part
Let's change that.
If we made our movie, but I don't know what it is, dude. It's just like so ridiculous that I kind of like it.
Yeah, for sure. So Wally tries to interrogate Clive Yorkin in jail and ends up scaring him when he's able to vibrate through the glass that separates them, and tries to start choking him. This is Clive Yorkin in the comics, by the way. Yorkin gives up the name of Vandal Savage, or Van Savage, and Wally, of course, is kicked out of the penitentiary, now knowing that it's the governor who assassinated his aunt. So now it's time to take down the governor, and Wally decides now that he's going to don the Flash suit for the first time. So here we go.
Okay.
He knows he can vibrate through things now, so as described in the script, and kind of like what we talked about before, he sends the suit out of the ring and then sort of runs straight into it, since he could vibrate. Pretty cool. Nice. Wally West debuts as the Flash, invading Vandal Savage's home, fighting off guards, and stumbles on a collection of ancient weapons from across the world, and across the centuries, frankly, in his basement. Savage arrives and thinks Wally is Barry Allen, and says, quote, "Barry Allen, I thought I killed you 10 years ago." Plot twist, Savage not only killed Iris, but he also killed Barry. To no one's surprise, of course. Savage fights the Flash, using weapons in the basement, and ends up unmasking Wally, finding out his identity, and says to him, to his face, "You're no Barry Allen." Which, of course, hits upon the insecurity that Wally's going to carry on through the rest of the script. That he has in the comics, too. That he's not going to be able to live up to his mentor, to his predecessor. So Vandal Savage then throws Wally into a death trap. That's basically like a muncher that destroys plastic water bottles. Because let's remember, Vandal Savage, and this is an environmentalist. You can't just throw him into anything. It's got to be very pro-environmentalist in the script. So instead he throws him to try to recycle him like water bottles, and Wally is able to turn himself into a human conduit to escape, wiping out the electricity in the home. So
it's kind of funny. He's an eco-terrorist. As far like he's like immortal, right? As long as he doesn't get killed, he'll keep on going. So it's like, I'll actually live to see the effects of climate change. Unlike you idiots, so more than likely I'll be there. So please get your fucking act together.
That's true. Actually, that's true. He's like, I have a stake in this.
I totally have a stake in this. I want to be able to breathe in 1,000 years. So that actually kind of checks out.
It does. Yeah, that's true. So Wally reports back to Linda and Hunter Zolomon that he knows Vandal Savage killed Barry and Iris Allen. But he doesn't have enough evidence to take them down. He can't give enough evidence to Hunter Zolomon for that. So they have to find another way. And along all this, Vandal Savage gets a visit from Hunter Zolomon, where it's revealed that Hunter was the one who planted the bomb that killed Barry years ago and has been working for Savage ever since. So, just to recap, the villains we got here are Vandal Savage, Hunter Zolomon, who's going to become Zoom, Clive Yorkin, the Weather Wizard, Rainbow Raider, Heatwave, and the Pied Piper. So we just stuffed a little much. Yeah. We stuffed 7 villains. To be fair, like Clive Yorkin is basically just a henchman in this, and so is Weather Wizard. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. They were just like, we might not get a sequel, so just throw all the villains into this one. Is kind of how it feels.
It's just like, shouldn't we learn our mistakes in the 90s with that? I mean, I know, whatever.
And it's 2007, which is when Spider-Man 3 came out, which was notoriously also overstuffed. With, like, you got Sandman and the New Goblin and Venom all in one movie. And this is like twice as many.
Remind me.
Yeah.
Only thing I remember about that, sadly, is that stupid jazz scene. And the way he uses the metal rods to take out Venom at the end. Like, that's... Oh, yeah. I swear to you, that is the only shit I remember out of that third movie.
They just shouldn't have had Venom in it.
Raimi supposedly didn't like Venom.
Yeah, which is why I'm just like, they shouldn't have had Venom in it. He didn't like the character. So, anyway, that's Spider-Man stuff. We got
That's it. Again, it's a testament, dude. Like, you're a movie director doing big stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, you think you're king cheese, and it's your dream job. You're getting everything you want to do, but no. Mm-hmm. You still have to show up to work on set and film some shit that probably no one on set wants to film.
Yep.
They all are not into it, but they're in contract, and they're making money, so why the fuck not? But it's like, it's like Spider-Man 3 was like no one's dream. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah. So, it's going to be The Flash versus Vandal Savage, and the Weather Wizard, and Clive Yorkin, and the Rainbow Raider, and the Pied Piper, and Hunter Zolomon, and who am I missing? Heatwave. So, it's going to be packed. How is Wally going to take all of them down? You'll find out after the break. Hey everyone, so this is Ben. I have a few plugs for my writing. So I am getting my first fiction published. It's going to be published in Metaphorosis magazine in the April 2023 edition. It is a short story novella called Shortcut to Happily Ever After. The cover that you might see in the video version is based on my story, art done by artist Gabriel Roswell. It'll be available on the Metaphorosis website on the first week of April. The issue itself will be available if you want to buy it on Kindle or on print on Amazon. The story, real quick, is about Daniel, a hopeless romantic who uses time travel to find love. Whenever he meets someone new, he jumps to the future to see if their relationship lasts, and if it doesn't, he returns to the present to cancel the first date before anyone gets hurt. But when his dating strategy starts ruining the fabric of time, Daniel has to go back and live through every relationship he skipped, discovering what he missed the first time around. So, check that out. The links are in the visuals as well as in the basically the links below, but that is at Metaphorosis. That is Metaphorosis. and the Amazon link will be there as well. So that is my original piece, but if you've been following us on social media or our YouTube community, I've also announced something else. I've got a couple Batman-related things in the pipeline, collaborating with our friends and fellow podcast, Newverse Creative. We've brought them up on the show before, but they do audio drama adaptations of unmade superhero scripts and other projects, so kind of dramatizing stuff we cover and comment about here. So for them, I'm adapting the Batman 89 comic written by Sam Hamm with art by Joe Quinones, as well as Batman 3, which is going to be an adaptation of the original Batman Forever scripts by Lee and Janet Scott Batchelor and Akiva McGoldman. So those will be coming out later this year. The Batman 3 one will be one that focuses on, of course, the cut subplot of Bruce Wayne's psychological journey. It is the closest thing you will get to the dramatized version of Batman Forever we've been talking about on this podcast since 2019. And that's about all I can say about it for now. But thank you very much. And for the month of April, this is because of the fact that SnyderCon is that month. This month's charity will be for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. This is the charity that a lot of Snyder Cut fans have donated to in honor of Snyder's daughter, Autumn, who unfortunately committed suicide years ago. No matter what your opinion is on the Snyder films themselves, I think we can all agree suicide prevention is more than a worthy cause that all of us can support. Obviously, if you or someone you know is having these types of thoughts, seek help. The AFSP Foundation, they have their own helpline and number, and they basically are out to help this cause. So there are people out there who can help you or anyone you know. And the website is afsp.org. Thank you.
Just wanted to announce that I have a new podcast called Gaming Gaiden. It's about Japanese to English translation. In this first season, it will be 10 episodes each season. If you saw the ranking, every Superman video game two-parter we did here on Superhero Stuff You Should Know, you have seen Mike before. So yes, if you like video games, if you've been interested in Japanese ever, we're going to be talking a lot about just Japan in general, Japanese cultural differences as well, and we also are going to have a lot of talk about 90s video game magazines such as Electronic Gaming Monthly, aka EGM. So stay tuned for Gaming Gaiden podcast. It's already out now, y'all. I wanted to tell you about the Patreon.com. Patreon.com/SuperheroStuffPod, and on that you get the $1 tier. You can join the $1 tier, which gets you the shout out on the board, and either visually or orally, or both at times. We want to do the oral for the most part for newer people. And then the $5 tier gets you a whole new show. This show is every Monday, as you well know, and it's free on YouTube and the What's Nots. And the Patreon show is every Friday at the $5 tier mark. You can, if you want, binge us for $5, and there's like 150 episodes, almost 150 at this point, and you can listen to all that content there. Even the stuff that's been released from the vault, none of that has been the full episode as well. So trying to keep our $5 tier people happy. But yeah, check that out. And then our $10 tier gets you all of the above, plus it gets you a monthly meetup show where you meet up with us monthly, and it's like a Zoom-like call, and we have a topic at hand, or sometimes videos we react to and things like that. And that's at the $10 tier. Every tier that you get, like the $5 tier gets you the $1 tier benefits, and the $10 tier gets you the $5 tier benefits and the $1 tier benefits. So check that out at patreon.com/superherostuffpod. We also got the merch, which is Redbubble, superhousepod.redbubble.com, and on Threadless, superherostuffpod.threadless.com. Get your Bin Man and Indeed Wizard mug, shirt, shower curtains, and all the rest artwork by Stephen Santa Cruz. And please send us some audio at superhousepodcast@gmail.com. A bumper would be great. You too can be part of the show. I'm ThunderWolfDrew on Instagram and Twitter. ThunderWolf Lives is my other YouTube channel, one of my many YouTube channels. And I have Also, ThunderWolfDrew.com has my whole portfolio in one place, except for AmanoRecon.com. That's AMANORECON.com. And that is an original idea that some friends and I are doing, where it is R-rated Power Rangers meets Stranger Things. That's the quick pitch, and it is not a fan film, original idea. We have a pitch video right now on YouTube and on the Indiegogo page. We're campaigning right now as of this, when this episode premieres. And this poster art is by ZacharyJacksonBrownArt.com. And check it out. Please support us on the campaign. And more from that soon. But yes, it's bloody, and if you like that kind of thing, check us out. And that's it, Ben.
Follow us on social media, on Twitter at SuperHousePod, Instagram Superhero Stuff Pod, where we have some different supplemental stuff. I've even analyzed the martial arts stance that the Keaton ornament from the Flash is in, so you can check that out on our Instagram Superhero Stuff Pod, TikTok Superhero Stuff Pod, Vero Superhero Stuff Pod. My website is benwanwriter.com, where you can read a whole bunch of spec scripts, including Gotham, Vampire, Elementary, The Death of Sherlock Holmes, and Curb Your Enthusiasm, Disneyland. If you're fans of any of those shows, check them out and let us know what you think. My YouTube channel is in the description below, including Doctor Who, The Ronin of Time, an audio drama I write, edit, and narrate with the 8th Doctor, meeting Miyamoto Musashi. My personal Instagram is benwanwriter. If you like cats, my son, Alfie, my cat, is at Alfie Pennyworth Cat. And if you have an Alfie yourself, then you can get the Whisker Box, the only cat box with a crazy cat lady and gent. And you can even check out another page on that website, superherostuffpod.com/show notes. That includes various show notes for each of our episodes, links to the scripts that we review if they're available online, Amazon links to the stuff we've been talking about, including, Brian Levant's book that he plugged for us, My Life and Toys. So check that out at superherostuffpod.com/show notes.
Lord have mercy, y'all. Do you like hounds? Do you enjoy pooches? Do you find yourself enjoying time spent with that of canines? Talking about dogs, y'all.
As you might have heard, Superhero Stuff You Should Know has now teamed up with BarkBox. For every month, you get a box for your special canine.
Pooches.
Or hounds.
That's right. One free extra month if you go to barkbox.com/superherostuffpod.
Follow the link and you'll get a free extra month valued at $35 and valid for all multi-length plans.
So get the BarkBox for your hound, for your pooch, for your canine.
Your doggo will thank you.
Can you say it louder for the people in the back?
And welcome back. So, where we left off, we revealed that Hunter Zolomon, who we have here in the wheelchair, though he's not in a wheelchair in the script, is working for Vandal Savage. So, during the scene, sort of Hunter is used as kind of an exposition point, because, whenever you need somebody to go into their backstory, you need someone else in that scene to not know that backstory. Otherwise, it becomes a scene that, in my old screenwriting classes, we called it the as you and I both know dialogue, which is like exposition for the sake of the audience, but the characters, it doesn't really make sense for them to talk about.
There's so much of that, man. It's a lot of that. I notice that all the time.
Yeah. So like once you hear that, you kind of notice it, like you said. It's like as you and I both know, we both run a podcast together. Like, why would you say? Of course you know that.
Damn it, Ben. There's like lines people say and shit that people hardly ever say in real life.
I think Aaron Sorkin was the one. It's his like masterclass or something. It's in the ad where it's just like, you hear all the time, damn it, such and such, but nobody actually says that in real life.
Yes. That's exactly what I was referring to.
For those who didn't know. But Vandal Savage here, Brancato knew what he was doing. He's like, Hunter Zolomon doesn't know the full backstory of Vandal Savage. So Vandal Savage reveals here that he is immortal. And actually, as Andrew said, has a stake in whether or not, the world is still going to be around in 1,000 years. So, like in the comics, Savage is a caveman who came into contact with a meteorite that made him immortal. And much like Ra's al Ghul, they pretty much was just like, hey, like who's another immortal villain? Ra's al Ghul and Vandal Savage. Let's just make him Ra's al Ghul. They kind of gave the Ra's al Ghul pro-environmentalist thing to Vandal Savage in the script and made him plan to commit mass genocide on Earth using the Weather Wizard's weather machine that they've been building from Savage Energy. And they're going to rebuild the planet in Savage's own image and presumably also like save the planet so he can actually breathe in 1,000 years. So that's the plan.
I wonder if he thought of that or like that's just one of those things that subconsciously was there and it just worked out in the end.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
He can't let the Flash get into his way, so he orders Hunter to release the Flash's old enemies from prison. Rainbow Raider, Heatwave, and Pied Piper. So that's how these guys become part of the plot. In the meantime, Wally is feeling discouraged about learning the truth about what happened to his Aunt Iris, and Savage's words are getting to him about how he is not Barry Allen. And it's his friend
release
John.
Releasing them from the prison is like it works. It totally works plot-wise and everything. It's a good way to get a bunch of villains in there, I guess, like, releasing Arkham or whatever. But, ultimately it's like, it just kind of feels like we could have spent more time with it, with one villain instead of go this route. You know what I mean?
Right. Or
like,
he fights
Weather Wizard. I mean, I guess it's mainly about Vandal Savage, but
yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like something cheap about it or something. Like, again, it's fine plot wise, makes sense. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I'll let you know when we get to their part, because
okay, all right.
It is when I got to it, I'm like, okay, I can see what you're doing here. That's all I'm going to say for now.
Oh, okay. It's going to pay off a little better than what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
So John gives him a pep talk. John seems to just be here to give him pep talks in this. But yeah, John brings up that, your Uncle Barry gave you a ring for a reason. You got to take advantage of that. So Wally decides, okay, well, if that's true, let me experiment. I know I can time travel. So then he ends up going back in time to reunite with Barry. Kind of like David Goyer's script. So yeah, Barry is back and still alive at this point, but because Wally went back in time. So, and he goes back in time and goes into the Speed Force or something. Like Barry kind of knows it's Wally, even though it's like Wally 10 years later. And they sort of discuss how they got their powers. And Barry alludes to the Speed Force as something that allows them to communicate during this time. And then Barry says, all right, show me what you can do. And now, this is for you, Andrew, we get a Barry-Wally training montage in the Speed Force, which makes sense.
What?
There's no Kid Flash. So they're going to get trained in kind of like this bubble here. So Barry advises Wally.
Training?
Yeah, running and things that Wally can do with his speed. So Barry tells Wally to trust the lightning, and Wally asks, hey, you want to race? And Barry says, nah. And Wally calls him a chicken. Cut to both of them racing. So Barry and Wally race together, which is pretty fun. But Wally speeds up and ends up breaking the sound barrier within this, Speed Force bubble. Barry jokes, however, that he let Wally win. So it's kind of ambiguous whether or not Wally is actually faster than Barry, or if Barry's just if Barry's just saying that. Barry also teaches him how to use his speed to land safely from a big height, how to run over water, and how to vibrate through brick walls. So all stuff he's going to need to learn as the Flash, and all the things that he's going to need in this movie.
The vibration is the second coolest power he has, I think.
The first being the time travel?
Or the first just running fast in general, his main power.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I like the vibration thing. I like going through walls and shit. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. It also makes it cool with the suit, when it comes out of the ring. It vibrates into it.
Yeah. That's cool.
So finally, Barry talks to Wally about how his speed won't make his problems go away, saying no matter how fast you go, you can't escape yourself. So Wally and Barry have a talk with Wally saying that, basically I can't be you. And in the reverse of the whole Tony Stark, I wanted you to be better type of thing from Spider-Man Homecoming, Barry instead tells Wally that he's never asked Wally to be him. He says, I'm asking you to be you. Now go put the guy who killed me in jail. And so it's a more developed
Character
dynamic.
Arc fulfilled.
Yes, it's a more dynamic between Barry and Wally here than in Goyer's script. However, it's also not as emotional of a reunion. So it's kind of a toss-up for me in terms of who used the Barry-Wally reunion better. I think Goyer had a better introduction to Barry, but this reunion scene and the montage is pretty fun. I think it's pretty.
That's good. Pretty good. Yeah. What would you call this? A self-acceptance arc.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So that's what it is here. Present day, though, Hunter Zolomon was sloppy. He broke out the rogues out of the Iron Heights, but he did it under his own name. And Linda Park figures out that he is in on it and corrupt with Governor Savage, and so she pulls a gun on her boyfriend. Man, this is intense. I told Dan to get a picture of Linda Park with a gun, and he didn't disappoint. So Linda pulls a gun on her boyfriend, but Hunter says, "You won't kill me." But the Flash shows up and says, "No, but I might." And so Wally basically takes Hunter. Hunter's taken by a red blur, and Wally holds Hunter Zolomon 40 stories up by the ankles. Zolomon refuses to give up Savage, though, and Wally lets him fall. But then also using his speed creates an updraft to sort of lift him in the air to sort of cushion the fall before letting him just land hard after a few more feet as opposed to all the way up from the top of the building. So he doesn't kill him, but he does injure him. I don't think he cripples him or paralyzes him like in the comics when Gorilla Grodd paralyzed Hunter Zolomon, but it obviously establishes that these two are going to be enemies. And Wally tells him, "We're not finished." So that's kind of setting up Hunter becoming Zoom in the future. But for most of this is pretty much the end of Hunter's role in this story. So after this is going to be fun here. Wally decides to take Linda out to dinner as the Flash, and he confides, not as the Flash, but as Wally West. And he confides his suspicions of Vandal Savage over to Linda. But as they talk, he sees that there's an explosion of multiple colors in the distance. And Wally decides, I gotta use the bathroom. So he leaves this date to investigate these colors, and he has to stop, after talking to Linda, he has to stop the Rainbow Raider. Here we go. And
I gotta save all these art critics.
So he does this by using the Rainbow Raider's own color grenades against him, and then he captures the Rainbow Raider. Then he goes back to dinner as Wally West, with Linda wondering why he has paint suddenly on his face after going to the bathroom. They talk some more about Wally's suspicions about what's going on with Governor Savage, when Wally sees that part of the city is now on fire. And so during this date, he lies to Linda that he has to take a phone call so he can go off and stop Heatwave. So
Jesus is crazy.
He has to fight Heatwave now and takes him out with a high-speed punch. And then he goes back to dinner after looking a little scorched and looking worse for the wear. And Linda's like, "Are you all right?" And she suspects he has a coke problem, but Wally jokes that he has a speed problem. So, that would have landed in the trailer somewhere.
This paid off. If he's like leaving in the middle of a date, I guess he won me over.
Yeah, it's like, I gotta stop these goddamn rogues all the time. I just want to eat my dinner.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
He's trying to tell her about his real speed here. That's my automatic cat feeder in the background. He's trying to tell her about his real speed here, except he sees that thousands of people are running below, panicking because of a bunch of rats. So now he has to leave the date again to face off against the Pied Piper. And he tries to take out the Pied Piper, but the Pied Piper ends up taking Linda hostage because Linda got fed up with Wally leaving all the time and just left. So
Ben, let us now talk about Pied Piper.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on this villain?
I think he's also underrated, actually. I think he's also underrated.
A guy that just leads some fucking rats around?
It's mainly the sound. He uses sound as a weapon in this. And he's partially deaf, and he's a little bit more of an anti-hero in the later comics. So he starts off as kind of a lame Silver Age villain, but when Wally West became the Flash, they kind of developed Pied Piper more and made him more of an anti-hero, gave him kind of a redemption arc, and they followed suit in the CW Flash. So in the CW Flash, they established the Pied Piper as kind of a villain at first, and then they redeemed him at least a couple times. Actually, they weirdly did it like twice. But recently they did it because something about Pied Piper's boyfriend being in danger and the Flash saving him. I don't remember the episode because I didn't see it, but I saw in the last season he actually becomes an ally who teams up with Barry's Flash in the CW. So I like that dynamic of him being an anti-hero, and I like that the power of him using sound against people.
You can get good action scenes from this guy. Is that what I'm hearing? Or good scenes, some sort of good, I don't know. I guess action scenes. Like, how does this work?
In terms of sound as a weapon?
Does Barry have to go faster than sound to beat him?
I think so, because I remember it being pretty powerful. Again, it's been a while, and in the script, he's barely a part of this.
That would be interesting. Now we're workshopping it, bro. But like, it would be interesting. Like, if I can't go faster than speed of sound right now because there's people around. Like, you can't do a sonic boom in the middle of a fucking city unless there's some Speed Force magic. But you know what I mean? So like, it makes it hard to get to Pied Piper. Maybe you know, I don't know. Maybe I'm selling myself on it, and you're selling it to me the more we talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, for this thing, it's just like, okay, I play a pipe, and I got a lot of rats. But I'm thinking more of just like what I've seen in the CW show.
He's a villain he's got to take down in the middle of a date.
Yeah.
A near
or at the
montage.
end of the day, considering Linda's just fed up with Wally always leaving dinner. And Wally's fed up at this point. I'm just like, I'm just trying to have a date, man. Like, all these rogues are terrorizing the city on the same night, in the same hour, at the same time. So
that's again a Spider-Man thing.
It feels like that, too. That's another connection.
We were relating Spider-Man to the Flash, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, one of the biggest things with Spider-Man is he kind of can't be a teen. He kind of like he's just about to kiss the girl, and then Green Goblin shows up or whatever. And they've done this really well in the Holland movies too. Like his responsibility, his adult responsibility, really is fucking over his teen life,
right?
All the time, and that sucks. And so I guess there's a little bit of shared DNA with that and this date scene here.
Yeah. Yes, this is one of my favorite parts. I think the Barry and Wally training stuff, and then this stuff is some of my favorite parts of the script. So, Pied Piper is now taken out, but he's basically took Linda hostage and passed her over to Vandal Savage's men. So even though Pied Piper has been arrested, Wally still has to rescue Linda. So then he goes to Vandal Savage and has to rescue her. This is like the fourth villain he's had to face in the same night. And during this, Savage tries to use a mercury bomb, I guess a bomb full of mercury, that he used to kill Barry. And Wally is able to basically throw it up in the air for it to explode in the sky. But he has to use the super speed to do it. And that's what basically reveals his super speed to Linda. So now Linda knows that Wally is the Flash at this point. So pretty cool. But yeah, basically they are now working together to take down Vandal Savage. Savage wants to enact his plan of using weather technology to destroy the world. Wally and Linda go off to stop him, with Wally still saying that Barry is the real Flash. He's just trying to fill in. All he wants is just an ordinary life. But Linda brings up that maybe he wasn't meant to have one. Maybe this is the life he was meant to have.
This is a cool suit, too.
Yeah, this is the rebirth suit, I think, for Wally.
I like it.
Wrong on that one.
Good job, artist.
Yeah, because it's like it differentiates it. Because like, dude, like looking back at some comics, I'm like, if I didn't know the era, I would just think like, oh, that's Barry or that's Wally. It's hard to tell sometimes, but when it's his own Flash suit, then it's easier. So that's probably the thinking behind that in Rebirth.
Oh yeah.
So
Linda Park's always been like his Lois Lane, Wally West.
Not like always, but she's been. I don't remember her when she was introduced, but like I think it was originally Dr. Tina McGee, like the one from the Goyer script, and in the Flash 1990 show, and then Linda Park shows up a little later, and then she kind of became his steady girlfriend and became his wife. So
got it.
It's like Brancato's going more traditional on that one, and going for the more common love interest in Wally West stories.
Okay.
Let's see. So Vandal Savage ends up creating several cyclones worldwide. The weather wizard himself, Dr. Martin, is not such a bad guy. He tries to refuse Vandal Savage. He doesn't like the fact that... hi, Alfie. He doesn't like the fact... Let me move him. His tail's right in my face in the camera for those watching the video version.
Got a cat tail just showing up in the feed.
Yeah. Say hi to everybody, Alpha. Say hi. Okay, so anyway... so the weather wizard is not such a bad guy. He tries to refuse. He doesn't want to see millions of people die. So, of course, Vandal Savage has him killed. And that's the end of the weather wizard. I'm just like, the weather wizard gets a fucking arc in this. It's like Incredible. He's in like 3 scenes, but...
I mean, at this rate, we're going to get a weather wizard movie and series and everything. Like, we're getting like... I mean, look, I can't complain, but it's like... Yeah, we're getting like, more deeper and deeper cuts as we go in the superhero movie boom.
It's going to be just like there's a Joker. There's going to be like Weather Wizard. And it's going to be like Timothy Chalamet and like an Oscar-winning type of thing about like the weather.
That's all I want now is Timothy Chalamet.
The emotions.
Timothy Chalamet is the Weather Wizard.
I'm calling it now. These villain origin movies are going to become a thing. So, yeah, Weather Wizard is killed by Vandal Savage, so now it's just Vandal Savage. So Wally goes off as the Flash in a big sequence where he tries to dissipate all the cyclones by creating his own counter-cyclones, and he's also going around using his super speed to save people at this point. At one point, he saves a little girl who looks up with him with admiration, and she's like, "What's your name?" And after a moment, he finally says, "I'm the Flash." And that's when he finally accepts who he is. It's my 3rd favorite part of the script.
Okay.
That's the end of his arc, the self-acceptance like you were talking about.
Yeah. Self-acceptance, self-realization, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's good.
So Flash is exhausted from all these cyclones because, again, he burns through all these calories all the time. Vandal Savage's main henchwoman tries to take advantage of this and stab the Flash, but his friend John arrives in a motorcycle and knocks her over, saving him and getting to be a part of the action.
Does Flash run to a taco truck and tip it over into his mouth? He'll be like, tacos. "I'll pay you back later."
How many? Yeah, how many? All of them. He goes all Gary Oldman in The Professional. All of them. Right into the guy's face.
All of them. Supposedly he did that take as a joke or something. Like he was told to like amp it up to the max, and he thought he had already like gotten it or something like that. I'm sure somebody will say something in the comments, but that's the fucking take they use because of course that take fucking rules. That's man, The Professional's so fucking. It's
probably
good.
The iconic part of it. Yeah, no, it's amazing.
Yeah, such a good fucking movie, dude.
So, the Flash has stopped all the cyclones, but Vandal Savage decides that's not enough. He's going to cause earthquakes that break the dam that's above Keystone City. And so if the dam breaks, the city drowns. So now the Flash has to fight a flood. Wally now has to go to the flood, and he's kind of surfing on the waves without a surfboard as this big wave is heading towards Keystone City. He ends up basically running around so fast that it creates an invisible wind wall for the wave to crash into, protecting the city. And that's what we're seeing here. Barry does in the CW show when there's one episode where the Weather Wizard is about to kind of use a tsunami against Central City. So it's pretty cool use of the power, using the speed to create this like invisible wall to protect everything. And Wally ends up pulling it off and ends up saving the city from the flood. And for whatever reason, the Flash ring is left afterwards, and Linda sees the ring and thinks that the Flash is dead, but then Wally appears and kisses her. So I don't know why we needed that fake out in the script. But anyways, Linda tells him to go be a hero, and so he takes off after Vandal Savage. And Savage is just like, well, down to plan C, since plan A with the cyclones didn't work, plan B with the flood didn't work, so now plan C with a bunch of bombs to finish off the city. But the Flash arrives, and they get into a fight where Wally finds the silver GPS discs, the ones that were used to kill Iris. So he throws them at Savage, and then uses the Weather Wizard's technology to send a lightning bolt right into Savage. So, poetic justice here. Again, he doesn't really kill him. The dude's immortal. So, he takes him out that way, and then he blows up the weather satellite and walks out from the explosion, with the script literally saying, quote, "He looks," in all caps, "badass." So, Brancato was not holding out at that point.
That's when the screenwriter is really trying to just Hail Mary to this concept artist.
Yes. I think it's him having fun, really.
Yeah, that's fine. That's cool.
Point. Yeah. So at this point, he's saved the day. Iron Heights Prison now has Rainbow Raider, Heatwave, Pied Piper, and a new inmate, Hunter Zolomon, who is going to become Zoom in the next movie that isn't going to be made or written. But that's kind of been the sequel setup at this point. Wally and Linda get to have some time alone, and they get to go to the bedroom where Linda asks, "Do you do everything fast?" And he says, "Not everything." It doesn't end there, though. He kisses her, and then he hears that there's going to be a train getting derailed in Pennsylvania, and he's got to run, and he speeds off into the night.
Cut to credits.
And
I fuck
that's
slow,
the Flash
baby.
That was the original line, but they cut it.
The one fuck they have in a PG-13. Nah, baby. I fuck slow. Cut to credits.
The Flash.
2008 DMX song or some shit. Plays.
The most iconic ending ever in a superhero movie goes to the Flash with "I fuck slow."
Oh man.
It would have been an amazing year if this came out in 2008, right? We would have gotten "I Am Iron Man," right, for Iron Man, right? And then we would have gotten "He's a Dark Knight" in the Dark Knight, and then we would have gotten "I Fuck Slow" in the Flash. So it would have been amazing. Perfect.
We would have had the best of all the timeline restored.
Yes,
just as Barry always does, or Wally.
Yes. So there was a potential director for this. So previously, Goyer wanted to direct that Flash movie that he wrote. This one was going to be directed by Sean Levy, who's mainly known for Real Steel and Stranger Things.
People talk about Real Steel a lot. Mm-hmm. I've never seen it, but apparently it's like a new kids modern classic. Have you seen it, Ben?
Yeah. I mean, it's good, but it's also, I don't know. It's weird too. Like it's good,
not
but
great.
It's one of those movies. It's one of those movies that you watch and you're like, this is really good, and then you like forget about it like afterwards. Which is weird, right? Because like if it's good, then you would think you would remember. But then like people mention it, like, oh yeah, I remember that. That was good. It's not one of those like, oh my god, it's amazing type of things. But he was the one who they had attached to this.
I remember the buzz surrounding this movie. Not that I was too old for it. I see kids movies all the time, but I don't know. It's just like Rock'em Sock'em Robots was like, it's just not my thing totally. But I guess I'd see it just based on the buzz alone. And I'm sure this guy would have done a great job with the Flash movie.
He actually said, I found this out. He said Flash was his nickname as a kid, and so that's one of the things that I guess he was a fan, but he also felt he wasn't really ready for a big superhero movie at the time to do it. And he didn't feel like the script was right yet. You know, like which is like ironic because I'm just like, well, you could have just done Goyer's version and just not have Goyer directed. You know, if Goyer's busy, just have him direct it. So like that could have done well. But the other thing that apparently killed this outside of Levy not really liking the script yet was the fact that around this time, they're also working on Justice League Mortal. And Justice League Mortal ends with Wally West taking over as the Flash. So that kind of makes this redundant because it already tells the same story. So it's kind of a weird time where they're like, we want to do this Flash movie, but we also want to do Justice League Mortal, and we don't really know what the fuck we're doing because we already developed one thing that's completely unrelated to the other, even though they're about the same thing. So
I mean, George Miller, I would assume, like, saw that script and was like, all right, this is good, I'll do this. And the studio's like, well, you're George Miller, so there you go. And then I guess Nolan, like we all know, Nolan trumped him because he already had movies out, even though he's a younger director. But yeah, I guess Miller being attached really got that Justice League thing going for a bit, and then that's what canceled out these other Flash scripts. That's what my read on it anyway.
Yeah, so I think so too. I think that's part of it. There is a time here where Levy left, and David Dobkin of Wedding Crashers was going to do the Flash movie connected to Justice League Mortal that I presume would have been Anton Yelchin as Wally West's Flash, picking up as a sequel to that. Yeah, rest in peace. But clearly that didn't work out either. So yeah, that is the Chris Brancato script. It is it's a fun read. It's got a few good moments, but I don't think it's not the same level as Goyer's, in my opinion. It's just not
right.
It's not quite there. There's something missing to it. There was something about Goyer's that just felt more interconnected, whereas this one is just like, we got 7 Flash villains in this thing, and they're kind of connected, but it's not. It doesn't feel as personal when it's Vandal Savage, even though he does kill Iris, but I don't know. There's something about them killing Iris that I just felt was unnecessary. You're already killing the Flash in this, the first Flash. I don't know why you need to kill someone else on top of that.
I don't really super love Vandal Savage either.
That too. He always seems like he's a less interesting Ra's al Ghul to me.
Yeah, him being like an immortal caveman is something kind of cool about that, but dude, I think I'd prefer Weather Wizard.
It could have been Weather Wizard. They should have just made him like Governor Martin, who's controlling the weather with a machine. Like, if it was just Weather Wizard, who's the governor, imagine that type of thing. You would need a different motivation, because he's not going to be immortal and need the world to still be around when he's, when it's 1,000 years from now. But I think it might have been more focused. It might have been more focused if it was Weather Wizard as the main villain, as opposed to Vandal Savage. I think Savage, again, to me, he's a less interesting Ra's al Ghul, but the coolest thing about him is that, you can still put him into any part of the timeline in DC. You can still have him fight Jonah Hex. You can still have him fight the JSA. You can put him anywhere. So I like that aspect. But you can also do that with Ra's. So, depends. Depends on the timeline.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, as soon as I hear Vandal Savage, I kind of get a little bit less excited overall. I'm going to agree again. Maybe someday we'll have a episode where we disagree on a bunch of points, but not this one. Yeah, I think the Goyer one's probably better too. And him being overly dark in this one, maybe that plays into his character arc in this, but it's it gets a little bit too edgelordy at times. That can kind of I don't know, put a damper on things, but this was not bad though, and by any means. This was cool. I would have seen this movie obviously, but it's sad it wasn't made. And now look at the guy with Narcos. So we're two jackasses on the internet. He's done Narcos.
He's doing fine. I
think he's doing
Sean
okay.
Levy's got Stranger Things. None of these guys are suffering at this point.
Something tells me they're doing all right.
I think so too. So yeah, and with that is superhero stuff you should know. Big thanks to Dan for the basically all the visuals on the YouTube version of this. On to the fan comments that we have gathered. So this first one comes from Justin Horowitz, who commented on our Batman Flash team-ups, bringing up that, quote, "Hey guys, there's actually an earlier team-up between Batman and the Flash in The Brave and the Bold 67 in 1966. I missed that one. So I'm just going to fire myself and we'll have Justin take over as the podcast host on this.
We had a good run, everybody. It was fun.
Welcome, Justin. It involves criminals with high-top sneakers who commit robberies. I guess the sneakers give them super speed. In this, it says.
I love it.
Interesting. Okay. The story is collected in a big Showcase Presents book where all the issues are in black and white. All right. Thank you, Justin. I did not know about this one. I haven't read it. So a nice little follow-up on this.
Nice.
Next goes to Isamu, Twitter user Isamu94604363. That's a mouthful. This is based off of the Flash scripts, us promoting the Flash script coverage, saying, does your source have a line on a Flash movie script from a few years later that had Barry Allen as a paraplegic? that received his super speed powers from the Shout of Turin. Weird. I don't know. My dad told me a little bit about it based. I don't. I was just reading it off. What is it?
Shroud of Turin is like what they think that Jesus was like the wrapped in when he died or something. Yeah, of course, it's like because it's a close connection to Jesus. It's got this almost like magical property, and there's like conspiracy theory documentaries on this whole thing and this and that. It's just like it's in the world conspiracy theories, and I think that the comic companies, well, they do. I don't know, man. I feel like they probably stay away from this, but who knows? Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. It says, my dad told me a little bit about it based on info he got from Mark Waid, who read the script back in 1990. Wow. All right. Yes. The Jim Strain script was about aliens giving Barry super speed, and this one's about Barry getting it from the Shout of Turin, from Jesus.
From Jesus himself.
Yeah. Jesus gives Barry powers. Who knew?
Barry runs on water and Jesus walks on water.
That's where it makes sense. That's the connection.
That's the connection, man. I don't know. But I think I did read that Mark Waid is the son of a preacher or something, and Kingdom Come is all about Bible stuff. I mean, you got Gog and Magog in there. So there's definitely like
there are aspects.
Yeah, aspects connected there.
So thank you, Isamu. I don't know. Yeah. We'll have to ask. Next is from, let's see. Next is from my mother. No, not my mother, but a user named my mother. Literally. We'll see in YouTube. And my mother says something that I swear my own mother did not say, but would be something she would say. I don't know if this is a woman or a man, so I'm not going to say he or she here, but basically my mother says, quote, I decided I wanted to boost the algorithm and check out a few minutes before I went to bed on Shortcut to Happily Ever After, which is the short story I wrote where there was an audio podcast version. Nice. My mother says, man, I just couldn't stop listening. I had to stop and save the rest for the morning. It's great stuff, man. I hope you keep it up. Thank you, my mother. So,
thank you, my mother.
Yes.
Let us know your pronouns, please.
Yes. On to the shoutouts.
They come so quickly these days, don't they? Just like Barry. No, Barry's late, actually.
And Wally.
And Wally, too.
I mean, if he does
Wally
that
late
fast,
also?
then he'll come quickly.
Is Wally late also?
Chime in the comments on that, because we know that Barry being late thing, but that seems like it might be one of those things that was Wally's that then got adopted by Barry. I could be wrong. Wait. No, I think it's in the original comics. That is in the original comics. Now that I remember.
Okay.
That's in the showcase one that introduced Barry. So yeah, it's mainly Barry who's late.
Okay, got it.
Wally's on time.
Always on time, baby. All right, so we want to thank everybody here on the board, of course, and we want to thank Slife Rebellion Off Madison, Meteor P, Christian R, Michael W, Bruce K, and Tita, among everybody else, of course, and our other supporters as well. And we've told you about our friends, and we'd like you to do us a favor.
We want you to tell all your friends about it.